Good morning. Good morning to everyone. I'm Laura. Our Brazilian Scientific Committee on Cultural Landscapes was established in 2019 during a General Assembly of ICOMOS Brazil. We are around 50 members. And in response to ISCCL's outreach regarding the 30 years anniversary of the cultural landscapes concept within UNESCO, some of us engaged with thoughts that were synthesized in principles that we'll present in this paper. So next slide, please. The Brazilian contribution is based on the understanding of landscape beyond the nature-culture dichotomy. Landscape understood as a living environment in a sense of how people perceive it, how they relate to it, and how they interact in many distinct ways. The very concept of nature is a cultural one, and we as animals are also nature. So we should stop thinking as modern science taught to us in compartmentation, but begin to think in a different way. We already have all the tools. Nowadays, thinking about landscape leads to contemplate many problems that afflict our contemporary world, such as climate change, environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, and heritage. Landscape perspectives are both local and global, personal and collective. It offers a framework to address social and environmental challenges, as well as exploring the social, economical, and environmental values of different types of heritage. With careful management, we can transform people's quality of life as they sustain a sense of place and identity. It contributes to a reorientation of heritage conservation and seeks effective ways to create win-win situations, leading to a decision-oriented approach. For this, a broad understanding of landscapes is necessary, especially regarding to the perception of its users. The concept of landscape has a broad range of meanings. It is polysemic and transdisciplinary. This is a basic condition in the recognition, planning, and management of landscapes, looking to their integrated, shared, and sustainable preservation. The concept of cultural landscape was brought to the field of cultural heritage, carrying all this polysemy. The extended concept of heritage itself have brought also breadth, diversity, and complexity. This proves to be counter-hegemonic and enriches both research and recognition, and results in a greater legitimation of cultural diversity and therefore in the desirable global participation in socio-cultural and social-spatial integration. Next, please. So, the Brazilian cultural landscapes nominated as World Heritage Sites offer a great range of diversity. In the left, Pampulha Modern Example, a designed landscape, reaffirms the urgence of guarantee qualified urban green spaces. In the right, Rio de Janeiro, Carioca landscapes between the mountain and the sea, focuses on extraordinary landscape that coexists with a bustling urbanization. Next, please. In the left, Paraty and Ilha Grande joins culture and biodiversity regarding natural bio hotspots and the traditional sustainable living of its local inhabitants. And in the right, Situ Burle Marx honors the work of a great landscape designer and researcher. Now I pass the floor to my dear colleague Betina. Next, please.
Hello, everybody. It's really a pleasure. The Brazilian heritage law dates from 1937 and at that time already mentioned specifically the protection of natural monuments as well as sites and landscapes. It mentioned landscapes that are of remarkable future endowed by nature or human labor. In 1988, our constitution establishes as Brazilian cultural heritage, tangible and intangible assets, highlighting that they must be taken not only individual but as a whole. In 2009, there was established the regulations on the Cultural Landscape Council on nationwide. Unfortunately, nowadays we are facing very serious problems with our preservation policy. Next, please. Next, please. The two images show two traditional agricultural systems that are protected as Brazilian cultural heritage. To the left, the indigenous people of the Rio Negro producing an invisible agriculture. And to the right, the Quilombola people of Vale do Ribeiro. The Quilombos are formed by former Negro slaves that settled together in isolated regions. Considering the Brazilian experience, the next slide synthesizes principles for a new approach and application of the concept in regard to our working group. Next slide, please. The epistemological advance makes us consider the systemic and complex character and its relationships, interactions, meanings and interpretations. The interaction between human beings and environment, nature, must be expressed through society. The diversity of objectives and themes built by groups associated with cultural practices and places has to be considered.
2 minutes, excuse me.
Okay, territory and territorial systems that characterize the locals sharing ecological and cultural functions and processes. The next one, please. Here we go with sustainable development, and we go also with the question of the dynamicity and evolutionary character of cultural landscapes. That implies recognition of their transformations and their public interest, harmonizing public-private interaction, and the need of integrated, shared, and participatory management. Next, please. The next image, honor America's diversity, a melting pot of cultural, ethnic, and linguistic contributions. To the left, our first people, the ancient system of Indian trails, the Piabiru, that connected the Americas and became the structure that organized the contemporary occupation and its vital connections. To the right, the continuous migratory process coming from different places of the world contributed to form a new merged version of traditional societies. This rich integration of people, culture, and nature results in an identity attribute of the continent and can be called as Americanidad, as stated in the IFLA Landscape Charter of the America. So, landscape is a fundamental piece to incorporate cultural heritage in the policies of development and protection of the territory. It brings us the opportunity to unite what modern science has separated, human beings and their environment, understand that we are part of the same living organism, and manage to create integrated management in landscape planning. The next slide, please. Concluding. Laura, please, you have the floor, because you...
Thank you. As pointed out by Graham Faircloth, English archaeologist, landscape is about people working together to share things, about people working groups. The escape part in landscape is the same as sheep part in fellowship. So landscape and heritage is not about protection and preservation, but managing change, living with, in change, moving from the past to the future in those trajectories. Thank you very much. Gracias. Merci.